All right, now we want to implement sorting. Once again, we start from the server. So here in our vehicle repository, you're going to make a change to this filter parameter. So let's go to this class. Here we want to add a couple new properties. One is string sort by, which determines the name of the sort column, and the other is boolean is sort ascending. Now with these two new properties, I would like to rename this class because we're no longer dealing with just filters. The filter properties are only make ID and model ID. Now in the future, we're also going to have the page index. So what this object represents is no longer a filter. I would like to change this to vehicle query. So here we have all the properties for querying the list of vehicles. The filters, the column we're going to sort the data on, whether the sort is ascending or not, the page number, and so on. Now in the file system, we also need to manually rename this class to vehicle query. Now similarly, we're going to go to filter resource, add these two new properties here. And by the way, note that here we have broken the API contract. We have added two new properties. However, this is not a bad break because the older clients that are not aware of these new columns, they can simply ignore them. Just bear in mind that we have broken the API contract, and whenever we do that, we need to think about the impact of this change. Anyway, let's rename this class as well to vehicle query resource. And then we change the file name here as well. So vehicle query resource. All right, all the building blocks are there. Now we want to implement the actual sorting logic. So let's go to our vehicle repository. First, we need to change the name of this parameter here. So I want to change this to query object to differentiate from the actual query that we're going to send to the SQL server. Now, after our filters, we're going to implement the sorting. First, I'm going to show you the poor way of implementing this. And then in the next lecture, we're going to refactor our code and make it cleaner. So if query object that sort by equals make, then we're going to set query. Now here we're going to have another conditional statement. So if query object that is sort ascending, we're going to set this query object to query that order by v goes to v dot model dot make dot name. Otherwise, if it's descending, we're going to use query that order by descending and the same lambda expression. So v goes to v dot model dot make dot name. Okay. So the client is going to send a set of predefined column names like make, model, contact name, whatever. These are the column names that we understand in our application. And if the client sends something else, we're just going to ignore it. Now I'm going to select this, duplicate it. So if the sort column is model, we're going to order by v.model.name, and similarly here as well. Now one more time, this time for contact name, and we're going to order the vehicle by contact name. And similarly here, contact name. And finally, you're going to add the ID column here. So order by v.id and v.id. You can see we have a duplicated structure in our code. So for each column, first we have a conditional statement that compares the sort by property with the column name. And then we have another conditional statement to check if the sort is ascending or not. And then we have a call to order by or order by descending, and we give it the exact same lambda expression. So if you put aside the differences between column names and property names, the structure we have here is duplicated 4 times. And that's what we're going to fix in the next lecture.